So CNN, as you all know, had a Trump town hall recently. They had Caitlin Collins host it. And there's been a lot of criticism over that. Now, some of the criticism, I think, makes no sense. So, for example, the people who say, how dare you platform Trump? I mean, guys, you got to be honest, that's just goofy. He's the former president, but beyond that, and perhaps more importantly, he's the leading contender on the Republican side for the nomination. You can't just pretend he doesn't exist. So I think the platforming claim is kind of childish, to be honest. But that doesn't mean there weren't criticisms that I think were perfectly valid. In fact, some of the criticisms I think are spot on. The criticism that you guys just did a terrible job and, you centered this more around access than anything else. Oh, that's a true criticism. So Jon Stewart made this point the other day. The problem is you had an audience packed full of Republican voters and right-leaning independents. So basically, these are all Trump fans. And so you rigged the deck to make it seem like, oh, the crowd's totally with him and the people are totally with him. That's not an accurate reflection of the country, right? You should have had an audience in there that was politically diverse. But beyond that, Caitlin Collins she has the charisma of watching paint dry. She's human Ambien. You want to sleep the second she opens her mouth. And it's not like she makes up for her lack of charisma with incredibly poignant arguments or political points. She doesn't. She's not ready for primetime. She's just not. Sorry. But again, they structured this thing to basically cave to all of Trump's demands. That's the problem, is you hosted him and it was done in a very negligent way. Well, guess what? There are apparently consequences for that. CNN's Trump town hall spectacularly backfires as ratings fall. In the wake of the controversial town hall attended by former President Donald Trump last week, CNN's primetime viewership figures have continued to drop, falling below those of right-wing channel Newsmax on Friday. Oh my god. CNN is now losing to Newsmax, this third-rate garbage channel. Oh, that's so embarrassing. That is the single most embarrassing thing I've ever heard in my entire life. How do you lose to Newsmax? They say the town hall itself on May 10th attracted more than 3 million viewers. However, just 2 days later, CNN had an average total of 335,000 viewers between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. against Newsmax's 357,000, according to data shared by Mediaite. That means CNN fell to 4th place in primetime ratings for news channels, also trailing Fox News, of course, and MSNBC, which averaged a total of 1.44 million and 1.08 million viewers, respectively, during the same time slot. This is embarrassing. The drop in primetime viewership could signal that a week of outrage at CNN for the town hall attended by Trump last week has driven viewers away from the network. On May 9th, the day before the town hall, CNN had 589,000 viewers between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. On May 2nd, a week earlier, the figure stood at 539,000. Look, man, I think there's something to this argument. A lot of the people who watch CNN, a lot of the people who liked CNN, it's similar to the MSNBC crowd. It's a lot of, liberal-minded, standard Democrat supporters. And this truly got under their skin. Now, some of them would go as far as AOC and say you should have never platformed this guy in the first place. Some of them don't go that far, but they think you did a terrible job because they did. So you pissed off your core viewership. The problem here with CNN and why they're going to continue to shit the bed is that they don't have an identity. There's no identity. So Chris Licht came out and said, we're going to go back to CNN Classic. We're not going to. So in other words, they said during the Trump era, they were too anti-Trump. And that's what hurt them. This is his theory. And so we need to go back to CNN Classic, which is pro-establishment and neutral. Well, the ratings under old school CNN also sucked. So at least under, the recent era of CNN, even though I don't agree with them, I think it was terrible. Their ratings still weren't that good, but at least they had some identity, right? Rah, corporate Democrats. Now it's like you're just lost. You're just lost. You're just neutral and floating through the ether. There's nothing that anchors you. There's no core mission. And this is the result, man. Now, Fox News has their core mission. Republican Party propaganda. That's what they do. MSNBC is the more pure distilled version of Democratic Party propaganda, the corporate Democrats. Now CNN is trying to split the difference between the two. And it turns out nobody's interested in that these days. Nobody's interested. So his solution is actually tanking the network even more. I love that. Because this guy thought he was some sort of genius. Oh yeah, I'm going to come in, I'm going to fix this. And this is the result. And I don't see any way for them to get out of this. Why? Because they don't have an identity. They're not close to discovering an identity. And this mealy-mouthed, weaselly, waffly, nothing perspective, this is what it's going to bring you. So enjoy it. Enjoy it. This is the chickens coming home to roost. Now, of course, they could decide to create an identity and do real news and have real charismatic and intelligent people, but they'd never do that. They never do that because in order to do that, you might have to risk offending advertisers. I will give them credit for one move they made. Apparently, Charles Barkley is going to get a CNN show now with Gayle King. That has potential to be good, but Charles needs to be unchained. He needs to be just like he is on NBA on TNT. If he tries to reel it in, the show will do terrible. If he lets it all hang out, it'll probably do okay. So we'll see what happens, but that's one good move they made, but everything else is kind of embarrassing. And to fall behind Newsmax really is, there's a lesson in there, right? It actually makes more sense from a business perspective to be super hardcore and ideological than it does to be nothing, to have weird neutrality, to have no identity, because at least Newsmax has an identity, and so they can garner some more eyeballs. Never did he ever in his wildest dreams did Chris Licht think he would fall behind Newsmax. Well, this is what you brought the company. Enjoy it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.